Assalamu alaikum. This is Noman. Hope you all are fine. Today in this video we are going to learn that how to memorize an invoice, how to make an invoice in white, how to delete an invoice, and some other things which we can do with our invoice. So right now we are at our home page. Go to create invoices. So now your invoice section is open in front of you, and now we will create an invoice. Select any customer. For example, I will select Mr. Irtaza Ali. Select any product. So as you can see that I have created an invoice just now. Now the question is that why do we need to memorize an invoice? So sometimes we sell some specific products to a customer after fixed interval of time. So whenever we make sales in a way like that, we don't need to create that invoice again and again, because our system can create that invoice again and again if it is memorized for the next periods. So let's learn how to memorize it. So in the above tabs, go to memorize, and here you can see it is said like that if you create the same invoice on a regular basis, use memorize to save it as a template for future use. So that's what I was telling you, that our system can create these invoices from this template again and again for future use. So click on memorize, and now in the next window you will see three main options: add to my reminders list, do not remind me, automate transaction entry. We will create our invoice with each option and then we will check the effect. So let me tell you about the first option, add to my reminders list. In this option, QuickBooks will memorize your invoice and remind you when the time will come to create the new invoice. So in the first bar you have to select the time interval. For example, in our business we are selling our products on monthly basis, and here you can select the next date on which your new invoice will have to be created. So here I will select the 1st May. So and select OK. Now let's check that where this invoice is saved. Go to lists, go to memorize transaction list, and here you can see your invoice for Mr. Irtaza Ali, and the next date for this transaction is 1st May 2021, and it will be created on monthly basis, and it's not automated, you have to create it on your own. So every month before 2 to 3 days QuickBooks will start prompting you that it's time to create that invoice. And now go back to your invoice. Now we will check the other two options. So go to memorize. Irtaza Ali is already in the memorized transaction list. Would you like to replace it or add a new one? So let's add a new one. Here we can change its name from Irtaza Ali to Irtaza Ali 1. And the second option is do not remind me. In this option, QuickBooks will never prompt you, QuickBooks will never create any invoice itself. It will just save the template and you can create the invoice whenever you want to create. So select OK. Go to your memorized transaction list, and here you can see it's Irtaza Ali 1, and look at this, the frequency is never. So it means that QuickBooks will never prompt you about the invoice, and there is no any next date. So whenever you want to create this invoice, you can just come here and create the new invoice from this template. Now go back to your invoice again and go to memorize, add, and the third option is automatic transaction entry. Here we can add Irtaza Ali 2. So the third option is automate transaction entry. In this last option, QuickBooks will never ask you to create the invoice. Instead, QuickBooks will create this invoice automatically every month. So here we can select the time interval, which is monthly. The next date is 1st of May, and now the next option is number remaining. And in this option you will tell QuickBooks that for how many times the system should make this invoice. For example, according to our agreement with the customer, he will purchase the same product from us for the next 6 months, so we will type 6 here. The last option is days in advance to enter. In this option you will tell QuickBooks that before how many days your invoice should be made by the system. So you can type 2 and select OK. Now if you will go to your memorized transaction list, you can see the last transaction, Itza Ali 2. It is on monthly basis and it is an automated invoice. So every month QuickBooks will create this invoice before 2 to 3 days of your next date. And now we will learn that how to make an invoice void. So whenever we make an invoice void, it will never be removed from our record, but it will changes all the amounts to 0. So let me show you how it works. Go to delete and select the small arrow, select void, and now you can see that there is a product in your invoice, graphic adapter, but still its price is 0, your balance due is 0, and here in the bar memo it is written as void. So it is your void invoice and you can also save it, but its amount will always be 0. So select save and close. And now we will learn that how to delete an invoice. Go to create invoices. Here we can select any for previous invoices. For example, we are selecting our invoice number 13. So we are going to delete our invoice number 13. Go to delete, select delete. Are you sure you want to delete this transaction? Yes. And now you can see that if I will go backward in my invoice list, it will show me the invoice number 12, and if I will move forward, it will show me the invoice number 14. So that's how that whenever we will delete our any invoice, it will never disturb our serial numbers of other invoices. So it was all for today. Hope you liked the video, and please subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed yet. Thanks for watching. Allah Hafiz.